Ben, come on, we're late.
I'm sick of every year we give power to one person.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it being late.
I'm sick of it.
Oh, Boast. What a character, ladies and gentlemen. You elected him. You elected him, Republicans.
All right, let's get today's show on the move here. Your Ben Joravsky show for Friday, March 5th is just moments away. But before we do this, let's thank our sponsors. Sponsors like SEIU Healthcare, Illinois, Indiana.
I'm sick of it.
The Chicago Federation of Labor are sponsors.
I'm sick of it.
And, of course, today's Ben Joravsky show is brought to you by the Chicago Reader, chicagoreader.com for the latest in what's going on in Chicago, what to do, what to watch, what to wear, where to go. All these questions will be answered if you go to chicagoreader.com. Subscribe, check out the latest column from Ben Joravsky. Buy Ben Joravsky's book, The Greatest Hits. He's pointing to the book, but Ben, no one can see it. Okay, we're on. No one can see us. But yes, it's Ben Joravsky's book, The Greatest Hits, covering 40 years of Ben Joravsky's career at the Chicago Reader. My God, the longest I've had a job, 7 years. 40! Holy cow. He must be doing something right. ChicagoReader.com. Become a Ben head. Subscribe. ChicagoReader.com/Joravsky for more information. All right, you have a song of the day. And Frank, you know what, man? You're awesome. We really do appreciate you, Frank. Longtime devotee of the program, former guest of the Ben Joravsky show. I guess he had to go to a funeral today, but he made sure to leave us a song of the day before he went to the funeral.
Oh, man. My condolences to whoever ever passed on.
No kidding. But, dude, you're thinking about us still, and that's awesome. Your song of the day is Stop in the Name of Love from Diana Ross.
Well, it's the Supremes. One of my favorite songs. Frank, great song. Stop in the name of love before you break. And then it had this riff at the end that when I was a kid, D, I just loved. It goes, stop, baby, think it over. And then they flipped it. Think it over, baby. And when I was 10, I was like, oh my God, that's so brilliant. Baby, think it over. Think it over, baby. They flip baby. They're geniuses. When will I ever be that smart? And the answer is never.
Wait, when you were a kid, what year did that song come out?
That song came
early
out.
1900s?
That song came out. Wait, what did you?
1876?
That song came out about 1966, I want to say. Yes, around there, or maybe 65. I don't know. But I was just imagine little Benny Joravsky listening to that song going, think it over, baby. Baby, think, oh my God. Oh my God. And then running to tell my friends. They say, baby, think it over. And then they say, think it over, baby. And the friends are going, God, this guy is weird.
Over 40 years, people. My God. He's old. The Ben Joravsky show starts now. It is Friday, March 5th, and live from my apartment and his attic, he loves that water, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Okay, please no airbase during the intro. Today on the program, it's the Rummana Rundown with Chicago Sun-Times editor, Rummana Hussain. And now your host, Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Dr. Seuss Friday. And here's why. Well, I think you all know why. Dr. Seuss has become a martyr for MAGA, a MAGA martyr. Hey, I am. Oh, if only he were alive to draw this story. All right, here's what's going on. Dr. Seuss is, of course, the great children's author and illustrator. He died in the 1990s. His wife died a few years ago. They had no children. His estate is controlled by a foundation filled with people who are much like Dr. Seuss and his late wife, and that would be liberals. Yes, Dr. Seuss was a liberal. He was not MAGA. Okay, he died before a MAGA officially became a thing, but MAGA was an embryonic thing back then. And I can assure you that based on all the evidence, Dr. Seuss, a man who supported Planned Parenthood and the ACLU and liberal politicians and environmental stands, would not be MAGA. unless they stole his brain and transformed it at an evil MAGA ceremony. Yeah, it'd be a great zombie movie. Turning Dr. Seuss into a MAGA.
Oh, he got his breakfast this morning, guys. You hear those sound effects? Top notch.
Hey, be easy. Let's see you top those sound effects, okay? Huh? Be easy? Come on, huh? Let's see you top those. Right now at Navy Pier, they're sitting around a table going, we really must improve our sound effects to compete with the Ben Joravsky Show. Did you hear his sound effects of MAGA turning Dr. Seuss into a MAGA creature? It was brilliant.
Be easy. Please don't throw away my resume. It's there in that pile somewhere. It's in that pile somewhere, please.
In the bottom of the pile, Mark, people who don't have clout. That's where your resume is. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. The board that controls the estate has decided that they don't want to continue publishing a handful of his books on the ground, that there are illustrations that are insensitive to Black people and Asian Americans, that these caricatures are offensive. It's probably a position that Dr. Seuss himself would take if he were alive, since he had an open mind and was not afraid to change it. For instance, you may not realize this, but Dr. Seuss was a cartoonist in the 1940s, and as such, he supported the internment of Japanese Americans. That's right. He drew some vicious and offensive cartoons on that very subject, which he later apologized for, because his mind was not made of stone, and he recognized that people can be blind to the hurts that they cause, and there's nothing weak or wrong about admitting that you are wrong, something that MAGA will never, ever understand. I mean, just can you imagine Donald Trump, leader of MAGA, apologizing for anything ever? Actually, I know some Chicago politicians who suffer from the same affliction. A certain mayor who will never admit she's wrong. Ever, ever, ever. Anyway. So the group that controls Dr. Seuss's books say they won't publish 4 of the books, but they'll continue to publish all the rest, including Green Eggs and Ham and Cat in the Hat and all the books that you love. But MAGA's outraged. Cancel culture, they call it. They're always playing the cancel culture card because it's the only card they've really got. When in reality, the biggest canceller of culture is MAGA itself. Just ask the man that Dennis fondly calls AK-16, Adam Kinzinger. Ask Mitt Romney. Ask Liz Cheney. Ask any Republican who dared to vote against Donald Trump. They're being canceled as we speak by MAGA. Anyway, as part of their protest, MAGA is, follow me on this, folks, buying up Dr. Seuss's books. Dr. Seuss's books are going through the roof. Another great sound effect. Man, Beezy's like, good. Damn, this guy's good.
Yeah, that's what they're saying right now. That's exactly what they're saying.
They're having a staff meeting. Got to do something about these sound effects. The Ben Joravsky podcast, they got the best sound effects. Yeah, we got like 300 people working at this radio station. Why can't we come up with sound effects like the going through the roof? Let's hear it one more time. Anyway, so MAGA's buying.
Seriously, my resume is in that pile. Don't throw it away. Call me up. We'll talk.
Be easy. Be easy. Oh, this is interesting. This young man is from Alton. Sorry, not hiring him. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. MAGA is buying up the Dr. Seuss books in protest, not realizing that the money goes to a foundation that canceled the books. So their buy up the books in protest is actually rewarding the people they want to punish. No one said MAGA was smart. Just diabolically evil. Meanwhile, MAGA's also opposing the stimulus bill. They're opposing the hike in the minimum wage. Senator Ron Johnson, yes, cheeseheads, your senator, made the clerk of the Senate read the full text of the bill. Anything to delay it, anything to try to slow it down and keep the Senate from passing legislation that would help ordinary citizens who are desperate for help. So to distract MAGA, some of the MAGA supporters who might need that relief from the fact that the people they support are denying the relief that they need, they ignite a culture war over the canceling of Dr. Seuss. Like I said, no one is accusing MAGA of being smart, just evil. Diabolically so. We got a great show today, everybody. Rummana Hussain will be here.
Oh my God.
Not an evil bone in Rummana's body. She'll be here. We're talking all the news of the day, all the issues of the day. Yeah, we'll do a little Dr. Seuss talk with Rummana, see what she says about that. And little Neera Tanden talk with her. But before we get to that, the young man from Alton, the man that Dr. Seuss loved to call Dr. D. They would get together, have lunch together, the two doctors back in the day.
We talk doctor stuff.
Yeah. So, how's your back doing, doctor? Oh, it's coming okay. How are those horse pills? Really working out well. The man.
Horse pills.
I think you were like 7 when Dr. Seuss died. Can you imagine little Dr. D and Dr. Seuss?
I remember it. I remember when Dr. Seuss died. I was a kid. I was like in 2nd grade. I was so sad.
It was a sad day. I love Dr. Seuss.
It's like the only books my dumb ass liked to read.
In fact, just the other day I saw you were reading Green Eggs with it. Hold on, Dad. Can't talk. Coming to the end. My favorite part. I am, said Sam. Anyway, the man that Dr. Seuss proudly called Dr. D with the news.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Dennis. By the way, hey, Frank is back on the live stream chat. What's going on, Frank? Frank says this whole Dr. Seuss thing is fucking stupid. Hey, Frank, come on. Clean it up,
All right.
pal. A lot of cursing going on the Ben Joravsky show these days, all right? We need to have a meeting about this. My goodness.
We, Dennis and I were having a conversation about this as part of the pre-show planning. D, should I open up our inner secrets to the world? Do you think, or should I just
bust that wall, baby?
All right. A lot of swearing going on the Ben Joravsky show. I want to address this with my guest, my distinguished guest. A lot of F-bombs being dropped on the Ben Joravsky show lately. It's come to our attention, okay, here. I am now, by the way, I don't know if you know this, D. I have got promoted. I didn't tell you this.
Oh.
I am in charge of the HR department at the Ben Joravsky show. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah.
Both H and R? Both of them? Not just H?
Yeah. I handle H and I handle R.
Whoa.
And it's come to my attention that a lot of our guests are dropping the F-bomb. Mm-hmm.
Like wicked ones.
Yesterday, classic example, Dave Glowatz, who's one of the nicest, mildest, most gentle human beings I know, who, of course, is our city council expert, did a great job yesterday, if I may say so, breaking down what happened at the city council meeting last week. I urge everybody, if they haven't heard it, to check it out. Drop the F-bomb. Yes, Dave Glowatz dropped the F-bomb. And I didn't even realize at the time, Dave, I've gotten so used to people dropping the F-bomb on this
You've
show.
been saying it left and right.
And the thing is that Dennis, one of his many duties as producer of the Ben Joravsky show is to prepare an excerpt that goes on radio stations. And so it's becoming, in the old days when we first started, it was, just, I like this interview, I'll kick it in. But now it's becoming harder and harder for him to do that job because you got to excise all the F-bombs because radio
for those who didn't know, we our show, we put it up on 105.5 FM, Lumpen Radio, Lumpen, Lumpen Radio. I think it's in Bridgeport. And every week I got to, find some interviews that's, radio worthy. It's getting a lot harder. I've noticed, just putting old Dennis to work here.
I don't even hear it anymore. But I'm telling you, we're going to have that moment. Adolfo Mondragon and David Weiss will be on this show at the same time. And we'll see who drops the F-bomb first. It'll be a contest. So anyway, yes, as the head of HR, I'm going to be looking into this, D. I'm going to talk. Don't worry. I'll be talking to the guests about this. I think I'm going to send out a memo. All right. A memo is coming out.
Yeah. Please send that memo. I mean, actually, I don't care. You know, I eventually find one throughout the week where no one curses like a sailor. Mick Dumke was available. Our interview with Mick Dumke. You get a bonus sneak peek. Mick Dumke, the only guest this week that didn't curse like crazy. I don't tell Lumpin' Radio that, by the way.
Yeah, Rosanna Rodriguez-Sanchez, who is really, again, just a real gentle soul. I think she dropped a few F-bombs when she was on the show, didn't she, Dee?
Yeah.
There's something about our show that just brings out the F-bombs in people.
Oh, shout out to Kyle on the live stream chat before we get going. He sent a little Dr. Seuss-esque little rhyme here. Kyle on the live stream chat says, I'm not a Dr. Seuss. I'm not a doctor in a caboose. Stop calling me Dr. Seuss. Gentle reminder, all I do is produce. That was from it.
That is really good. Dee, could you send him a check for like $100 or something like that? Just take it out of the petty cash fund, okay?
That was really good, Kyle. You could be the next Dr. Seuss. It's great.
That is really good. All I do is produce. Why didn't I think of that? Damn.
All right, shout out to the hard-working journalist at the Chicago Sun-Times. They sat down and had a chat with Chicago Public Schools CEO Janice Jackson. They asked her 13 questions after week 1 of CPS's school reopening plan. We're going to see how many of these questions we can get through here on the program. And today, our host, Ben Joravsky, will play CPS CEO for the day. Let's really underline the day because that's about how long he'd last in that job. But he's going to play CPS CEO for the day. Now, listeners, you can't see this, but Ben is wearing a jacket and tie at the moment. He's really getting into this bit. You look great, Ben. I mean, it's pretend. It's only for the day, and it's not even real, but I'm glad you dressed up for the bit. CPS CEO Ben Joravsky coming up. But first, we need to talk about this weekend's Benny J bonus interviews, available at chicagoreader.com and wherever else you download podcasts. Every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, a brand new interview for you to check out. Well, one of them I played on Lumpin' Radio today, but like I said, he's the one guy who didn't curse. But hey, it's still new to a lot of people, all right? So let's run through this weekend's lineup. We begin with Saturday, the return of a familiar friend on the program. He's a professor. He's an author. He's David Ferris. Ben, what are you talking with David Ferris about? It's after today's show, but give everybody what you plan.
I have a feeling that David Ferris is going to go off on the Democratic senators who are betraying the Democratic values and keeping Joe Biden from passing some of the legislation that so many forget Democrats, that so many Americans need, like the minimum wage. I'm thinking of you, Joe Manchin. And the senator from Arizona. I got a feeling that David Ferris is really going to want to talk about that. And he predicted this. David Ferris at one point said, oh my God, it's going to be 50-50 and Joe Manchin is 50-50 in the Senate and Joe Manchin's going to be hugely important. No. So we'll be talking. I love to hear what Dave Ferris has to say about Donald Trump, his speech at CPAC, just the general state of the Republican Party. Haven't talked to him in a while, so I'm really looking forward to updating with David Ferris, the man who's always trying to get Democrats to stand up for their values and their beliefs and to fight for what they believe in, as opposed to, well, I think I'll cave in. I'm scared. Swing voters, Wisconsin. So I'm really looking forward to David Ferris.
Was that an impression of anyone you know in particular?
No, it's just my generic impersonation of a cowardly liberal. No.
Sound a little bit like Adolfo. Just saying. I'm just saying.
Adolfo? Are you kidding?
I know.
He's the exact opposite. He's like, beep, those mother beeps.
Hey, you just said the F word. All right. So it's going to be David Ferris. And for those who have seen a David Ferris interview and have been on the fence about maybe downloading it or playing it, well, he's low-key funny. That's the thing about David Ferris. He just throws in these little jokes real quick and continues. David Ferris, always a great guest. It's going to be available Saturday by 5 a.m. On to Sunday, once again, return of familiar friends of the program. My God, these guys know so much about Illinois, so much, in fact, that we call them The Illinois political know-it-alls. It's Jacob Kaplan and Dan Pogoszelski making their return. We recorded this interview after yesterday's program. Ben, tell people a little bit about it.
A lot of talk about the future of the Democratic Party in the aftermath of Robin Kelly's victory as chair in the fight to become chair over Michelle Harris. Lots of interesting. I don't want to give too much of it away, but, there's many Democratic on-the-ground strategists, people who do operatives are doing the work, going door to door on behalf of the Democratic Party are a little frustrated with some of J.B. Pritzker's political operatives. They love J.B., but they don't think his political operatives understand Illinois. So we get into that. We get into that discussion. Does J.B. have the best political strategists around him, looking out for his interests? We get into that discussion. And then, I hate to say it, Danny Pogoszelski, little disappointed, young Daniel. I gave him a softball trivia question, and he swung and missed.
Wait, hold on. He told me to edit this out. Please don't mention this.
Oh, oops. Let's just edit out what I just said.
Okay.
Dennis and the edit outs. If you want to hear an example of not editing out, but it's hilarious, the David Weiss interview, the opening segment.
But since we're editing it out, go ahead and tell everybody what happened. Since we're editing it out. Yeah. I'll edit this part out too. And I'll edit this part out too, so no one's gonna hear it. So just go ahead and say it.
No one's gonna. Okay, I'll say it. Yeah, I'll say it and I'll get edited out. And the only people here are the live listeners. Anyway, I asked Danny Pogoszelski the easiest question in the world. Who did Alan Dixon lose to? I can't believe he didn't know that. I know my listeners right now are gas shocked. That's the sound effect of someone being shocked.
That one needs a little work.
Yeah, the guys at BZ are like, we don't have to worry about that one.
They were on the phone. They were about to dial the last number. Then they heard that one. Ah, boy, never mind.
Yeah, never mind. There goes Dennis's resume. Into Lake Michigan. What they do, D, is they open up that window that at Navy Pier that overlooks the lake. Oh, this is that hippie guy that works for the freak. Here, out the window. Anyway, Danny P, he makes up for it, though, with, I think he threw a couple good trivia questions at me. But anyway, wide-ranging interview and discussion on the future of the Democratic Party in the state of Illinois in the aftermath of Robin Kelly's victory as chair of the party. So
that will be Sunday, the return of the Illinois political know-it-alls, available by 5 a.m. And finally, well, it's a McDumpky Monday. That's right.
Guys, this is a total geek out. I cannot urge you enough to listen to this interview. I know you go, oh, Ben, you're promoting your own interview. I know.
Well, hell, no one else is going to do it.
My dear friend Mick Dumke and I are political geeks. I can't think of anyone who's as obsessed with politics as much as I am. Mick Dumke is right there with me. Well, Jacob Kaplan, I got to say, he's right there too. And Ferris, now that I think about it, there's a few of them out there. But Mick Dumke and I take the deep dive. He wrote a brilliant article. I urge everybody to read it in the latest ProPublica, an investigation into the unsolved murder of an alderman, Ben Lewis, 1963. It's a story. It's a very complicated, well, it's not complicated, but it's a fascinating story about, there's a whole array of characters in it. That's why I said complicated, about the mob, about the emergence of black politics on the West Side, about the resistance white politicians had to the emergence of black politics, about the connection between the police and mobsters, between the Daily Machine and mobsters, gangsters and gamblers and politicians in Chicago. It's the exact history of Chicago that they don't want you to know because they want you to be stupid so they can manipulate you. And Mick Dumke put it out there, ProPublica, and then we took it apart. Who murdered Ben Lewis? And why did it remain unsolved? Whose identity? Who was being protected by this diabolical act? I've been thinking so much about this, D. The murder of Ben Lewis, the murder of Fred Hampton. It's all this stuff happened during the Daley years, Richard J. Daley, who's like, I don't know. What's going on? I don't know. The powers that be just said, oh, great mayor. We love this guy. Something to think about. Voters out there, it's a new generation of powers that be, but they love their mayors. So I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there, Just think about it, like that knee-jerk reaction the power elite has in this city. Like, you don't want to have too much of a conversation about this because it's uncomfortable. But Mick Dumke and I take the deep dive. Mick is brilliant. Great job, Mick Dumke, on the article, and a lot of fun, that discussion. So I urge everybody to check out the conversation I have with Mick Dumke about Alderman Ben Lewis, the murder of Alderman Ben Lewis.
It's This Week in Spinny J bonus interviews. Saturday, David Ferris. Sunday, the political know-it-alls. And Monday, Mick Dumke, available at chicagoreader.com by 5 a.m. Go download them, subscribe, give us a review. 5 stars only. That'd be great. Okay, let's move on. Local news. Let's do it. We begin in Illinois, and we begin with Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Springtime. Love it.
Yeah, spring is indeed in the air, Governor. And J.B. Pritzker is kicking off the soon-to-be spring season with a brand new awareness campaign. He loves awareness campaigns, everybody. Today, the governor was at the Family Christian Health Center in Chicago at 11 a.m. to talk about it. Ben, I have the audio. Like to hear it? Here it go.
While it's everyone's choice whether to get vaccinated, we need to be sure that those who are uncertain have all the facts, because these vaccines save lives. That's why today I'm announcing a new $10 million public awareness campaign, especially focused on our communities hit hardest by COVID-19, to share information with Illinois residents who are still considering whether they're going to get vaccinated. This campaign builds on Illinois' existing messaging, which has used data to inform how to get outcomes that emphasize equity. This new campaign uses real-time data to direct messages to the communities that could benefit from hearing those messages. Vaccine hesitancy is real, and misinformation, especially on social media, is rampant. In our ads, which are already on air, you'll hear directly from public health experts about the safety and effectiveness of those who get vaccinated, of the vaccinations themselves. And you'll hear from people like Dr. Ngozi Ezike. You'll also hear from everyday Illinoisans who have struggled with COVID-19 themselves.
A little bit of what J.B. Pritzker was talking about this morning.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this because I have a few friends, and I'm not going to name them, who've told me they're not going to get the vaccine because they don't trust it. And I'm like, wow. So I've been thinking about this, like, what's the best way to get someone who, for whatever reason, does not believe he or she needs trust the vaccine to trust the vaccine? And so is it a doctor, like a Dr. Ezike, a Dr. Fauci type? You know what I'm saying, D? Is that the best way to do it? Is it a celebrity? Do you get, I don't know, who's really popular right now in America? Can't think of us. All I can think of is Oprah for some reason, and she's not really popular. God, boy, do I show my age. Trying to think of a popular millennial celebrity, and I can't think of any.
I say Toby Keith. Let's, Toby Keith, country singer Toby Keith. Hey, everybody.
Right.
Hey, everybody.
Keith.
Get a vaccine, man. Come on.
Yeah. Would that work? With some guy who's resisting a vaccine, go, oh, Toby Keith said to get one. I'm going to get one.
I mean, that's your best shot.
I mean, I don't know. Like, Lori Lightfoot's gotten one. J.B. Pritzker's got. I don't think anybody was really moved by that. So I don't know. Do you scare people getting into vaccines? Is that the way you do it? Like JB seems to be suggesting the way to do it is to scare them, to have horror stories. I don't know if that works. Wow. You know, I got to tell you, the flu shot. I know some people, they will remain anonymous. I'm not going to embarrass them. Will not get a flu shot. I'm like, why don't you get a flu shot? I don't like needles. I don't want a needle in my arm. I think that the flu is probably not as bad as having to deal with the shot. That's what they tell me. So I don't know if the scare tactics work. I don't know, maybe celebrities. I don't pay people to do it. I don't know. A man in America will turn down $10 for the vaccine, D. There you go. I just figured it out. In fact, I told you this story once before. Donald John Trump. What was it? Spy Magazine in the 1980s had this little game, this little scam they were playing, where they would send checks for 1 cent to celebrities. and they would write the letter would say, dear, one celebrity they sent was, dear Donald Trump, dear Mr. Trump, we've discovered that inadvertently we overcharged you by 1 cent. So here's our check for 1 cent. Apologize for overcharging you. Just to see who would cash it. Guess who cashed it? Donald Trump. So I think that the fastest way to get people to take the vaccine, D, is to pay them to get the vaccine. There I go. I figured it out. And you know what really irritates me? They're having a hard time getting to pay people to take the vaccine. I want the freaking vaccine. Well, another mixed message.
Oh, that's suit and tie. That jacket and tie is getting to your head. You're solving all Illinois' problems now.
Vaccine rollout is getting a boost
Oh my
today.
Goodness!
President Biden spoke this afternoon.
Sorry,
saying
guys.
Enough vaccines will be available for everyone.
All right, we will edit that out.
Yeah, you won't hear that. Yeah, I know. I've been solving all the problems from my little attic overlooking the porta potty. Yep, that's what I do. Solve problems, do great sound effects. Try to get you a job at WBEZ. I'm working on it. Okay.
I can't thank you enough for that. That's really nice of you. All right. Anything else you'd like to say here before we move forward here in the program?
No, other than I have an appointment 3 weeks and counting for I get my first vaccine at the United Center. Me, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, BJ Armstrong. We're all going to be hanging out.
None of those people are going to be there. You know that, right?
I know it. I was so excited. I'm going to the United Center, my beloved Bulls. And then I read in the paper, it's in the parking lot. Huh?
I'm sure they'll get that mascot out there with the face mask on.
Oh, Benny the Bull?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be out there.
Yeah. Anyway, in my mind, it's me and Michael Jordan are going to get the shot. Yeah, we're going to hang out. Me and MJ are going to hang out, D. We're going to eat pizza and have fun. Watch old Bulls games. So you can come too. I'll let you come.
Okay, that's once again not going to happen when you go. All right, everybody. It's Friday. Yes, Ben, I'm doing it now. Okay, stop making the signals. My God, I'm doing it now. It's Friday. That means it's time to talk the week that was in Illinois weather. Yeah, guys.
From the Illinois State Water Survey at the University of Illinois Prairie Research Institute, this is Illinois State climatologist Trent Ford.
It's time for the most boring segment we've ever had on this show. It's time for our weekly weather report from Illinois climatologist Trent Ford. Ben loves this segment. I thought he was crazy. Like, why on earth would you like this segment? But Ben, I've learned this week, not only do you like it, our live stream chat absolutely loves this weather segment with Trent Ford. What's going on, guys? I don't get it. What's the big deal about this segment, Ben? Please tell us.
Well, first of all, I can understand why they love it, because we're all astute students of climatology, and no one is as brilliant and insightful when it comes to climatology as Trent Ford. I particularly love it, and I think many of our listeners do as well, Dave, when he talks about precipitation. So I'm hoping that there'll be some updates on precipitation, right? Isn't that what we got ahead? Precipitation.
Yeah, whatever. I find it very boring, but we're going to play the segment. Here we go. I'm going to throw a load of laundry in while we do this. Trent Ford, take it away.
From the Illinois State Water Survey at the University of Illinois Prairie Research Institute, this is Illinois State climatologist Trent Ford.
My God, you're boring.
Looks like it's a lamb for the start of March. Average temperatures this past week range from the high 30s in northern Illinois to the high 40s in southern Illinois, between 1 and 8 degrees above normal for this time of the year. This was quite a dramatic change from most of February. While the preliminary statewide average February temperature was 20 degrees, about 11 degrees below the 1991 to 2020 average. The official February statistics will be released next week, but it is likely last month was among the top 10 coldest on record in Illinois. Last month's extreme cold also pushed the preliminary winter season average temperature to about 1 degree below the 1991 to 2020
Hey, what's going on? I'm back. Sorry, Trent Ford. That was extremely boring. I did a load of laundry. What'd I miss?
Oh my God, you missed this. And that the last cold snap, follow me on this, dropped the average in Illinois to below the old record low, which was in 1991. You missed that. And then he started talking about the butter cow. You missed that. A lot of good stuff on Trent Ford this week.
He did not talk about the butter cow.
Yeah, but actually, Dennis did smashing the fourth wall. He did leave. I don't know where he went. Where'd he go?
What's he doing? Load of laundry. Put a load in, pal.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on here from the current governor to the former. Yes, former Illinois governor, Republican Bruce Rauner made the headlines in 2021. And what the hell? Let's talk about it. The following comes from the Chicago Tribune and one Bill Ruthert. I've never heard of Bill before. Welcome to the Chicago Tribune if you're new, Bill. It says here, former Republican Governor Bruce Rauner made a $250,000 campaign contribution to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis last week after seniors in the uber-wealthy Florida Keys enclave where Rauner owns a home were among the first in the state to receive COVID-19 vaccinations in January. Rauner's connection to the favorable treatment first was reported Wednesday by the Miami Herald, which obtained a memo the management of the exclusive Ocean Reef Club in Key Largo sent to residents, noting that its medical center had vaccinations for residents age 65 and over, while most Floridians struggled to access the shots. DeSantis has used the state's vaccination program to open special distribution sites in select communities while skipping state and local vaccine registration logs, various Florida news outlets have reported. I got to say, I miss Bruce Rauner, and I'm so glad he's back in the news here in Illinois in 2021.
Bruce Rauner, truly one of the most despicable elected officials in the state of Illinois in the history, at least in my lifetime. If anybody can think of anybody who was worse than Bruce Rauner, feel free to send me the suggestion. And
Yay for our teachers! Yay for our teachers!
Oh, my God. This is the man, ladies and gentlemen, who despised unions so much that he was willing to destroy the state of Illinois in an attempt to force Democrats into passing anti-union legislation. No budgets, no money for groups that desperately need it, no money for schools. Let's drive up the debt so his banker friends can make even more money lending on interest loans to the state of Illinois. That's Bruce Rauner. That's the man that the Chicago Tribune endorsed, not once, but twice. Just want to mention that. It just occurred to me, D, you know what Pritzker might do in terms of public service announcement to get people to take the vaccine? Highlight this story. Just follow me. I just thought of this as I listened to your recitation of the story. If you tell people that a gazillionaire like Bruce Rauner is willing to spend $250,000 as a thank you to getting pushed to the front of the line to take the vaccine, maybe people will say, hey, there must be something to getting this vaccine if rich guys are willing to spend so much money to get one. I think you want to get MAGA to start getting the vaccine? That's the way to do it. To say, hey, MAGA, rich Magigians, is that what you call them? Magigians are paying $250,000 to another Magigian, Ron DeSantis, to get the vaccine. I just figured it out, D. That little brain of mine never stops working, okay? Processing material. That's how you do it, Governor Pritzker. And you know what? You don't have to give me credit. Just steal my ideas, run with it, run that commercial. Bruce Rauner paid $250,000 to Ron DeSantis for the vaccine. Hey, you know what? If all else fails, you know what, Pritzker? You might want to consider Phyllis. Phyllis was very influential in the fair tax debate. Could you imagine a commercial with Felix? Felix? I think Phyllis might help you out there. Springfield politicians want the vaccine all for themselves. I think everyone should have the vaccine. I'm Phyllis. There you go, D. I just figured, man, this brain is just...
Take that jacket and tie off now. My goodness.
Well, Bruce Rauner, I missed you, man. It's so good to have a sleazy Bruce Rauner story back. Remember when he paid $50,000? What was it, Walter Payton? They took his kid. Oh, thanks, Walter Payton. Oh.
All right, leave the rounder impression of me, pal. All right, and for those who are new to the program, it's the audio drop that just won't die. Phyllis.
Springfield politicians, they promise they won't tax retirement income if their constitutional amendment passes. But their measure lets them increase income taxes on every group of taxpayers, including retirees.
I know I'm not allowed to shame voters, D. I know Mike is going to get mad at me and Mindy Isire and all the other millennials who come on the show, but come on. Hey, Northwest Side retirees, heck of a job on voting for against the fair tax because of Phyllis. Now they're coming after your pensions. Heck of a job, voters. Sorry, D. No more voter shaming for the rest of the show. Go ahead.
Thank you. All right, and one more piece of statewide news. It was the story of the week. Robin Kelly was elected one of 800 of Mike Madigan's positions. Robin Kelly was elected here. What was Ben, there's so many damn titles. I can't remember which one it is offhand. Which one was it again that became
Chair of the Illinois Democratic Party.
Yeah, that one. Chair of the Democratic Party. Congresswoman Robin Kelly played phone tag. This comes from Illinois Politico. Robin Kelly played phone tag with Governor J.B. Pritzker, who also congratulated her on Twitter. You know, JB was for Michelle Harris, but, you know, Pritzker is sucking it up and still talking with her Thursday after she won the championship of the Illinois Democratic Party. And then Robin Kelly got down to business, meeting with staff, starting to form a transition team, and learning for the first time that the party no longer has a Chicago office. Well, that's fascinating. Kelly also shared a virtual high five with Senator Dick Durbin, who mentored her for the party leadership position. We'll end it out with a quote here. Robin Kelly said, quote, "I'm excited. The idea of making changes and making it a different type of organization that's transparent and active and has spirit. It's something I want to do."
Well, you know, I think it's pretty First of all, let me deal with the J.P. Pritzker fallout. Some people are saying J.P. Pritzker is vulnerable. This is a part of the conversation we had with the political know-it-alls, that he's vulnerable. The fact that he could not get the Democrats of Illinois to support the person that he wanted, Michelle Harris, the alderwoman of the 8th Ward. He could not get them to support her, shows that he's vulnerable, he's weak, he doesn't have full support. He couldn't get the fair tax passed. I like to think that this was a message that Democrats from outside of Chicago are sending Chicagoans. And that is, we have to diversify, geographically diversify. And if you listen to this show, you know, this is one of our themes, that Chicagoans are not that popular outside of Chicago, particularly downstate. And if the Democratic Party is going to build its base of support in areas outside of where it's already popular, then they got to think outside the box. And I'm just saying, a Chicago alderwoman is not exactly the best sell. Just hate to throw that out there, Chicago. I know most of my listeners are from Chicago, and they're you can't say anything bad about Chicago to a Chicagoan. I was just having this conversation with Rummana. If you say something bad to a Chicagoan about Chicago, they immediately come back and defend it by saying, well, everybody does that, which is no defense at all. You know what I'm saying? It's like if somebody in Chicago does something stupid and you defend it by saying, well, everybody does something stupid. Well, how is that a defense? Like, how is that a defense? That's Chicago. So Chicagoans, don't get mad at me, Chicagoans. You know I love you. I've lived among you since 1981, all right? This book, Ben Dresser's Greatest Hits, is all about Chicagoans. Spent my life writing about you and talking to you and trying to understand you. So I'm just saying, guys, you're not that loved outside of Chicago. So maybe it's good to just mix it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying, D? That's all. Throw that out there. Our show, by the way, is immensely popular downstate, is it not?
We got a few. We got a few downstate listeners.
Do we?
Yeah, absolutely. My mom, my friend Alex, his mom listens. Yeah, we got some downstaters. I think we have a live stream chatter who was downstate, Triple J, I believe his name was.
Love all you downstate listeners, particularly Dennis's mom, Alex's mom.
I try to provide the downstate, content of the program. You know what I mean? When I talk about pork steak and.
And I want to apologize to all our downstate listeners for making the mistake in thinking that Bruce Springsteen was more popular than Jimmy Buffett. Dennis has corrected me on that point many times.
Yeah. I don't like that hippie Springsteen down there. All right, let's end it out here with 13. We're not going to do all 13 questions, but 13 questions with CPS CEO Janice Jackson. But for about 10 minutes, we're going to pretend that it's CPS CEO Ben Joravsky. That's right. All right. Shout out to Nadir Issa in the Chicago Sun-Times for his hard work here. Like I said, 13 questions with CPS CEO Janice Jackson. The Sun-Times sat down with Janice Jackson, asked her 13 questions a week after schools have reopened. With nearly a week in the books for Chicago Public Schools' long-awaited reopening, Janice Jackson set for a one-on-one interview. We have questions here. Ben, I'm just going to pose them to you. I'll read the question. We'll see what CPS CEO Ben Joravsky says, and then we'll read Janice Jackson's response. How about that?
Okay. All right.
Here we go. Shout out to the Sun-Times. Thank you very much. By the way, check out the Fran Spielman podcast if you want to. It's once a week. 13 questions with CPS CEO Janice Jackson and fictional CPS CEO Ben Joravsky. The first question, the Chicago Sun-Times asks, how was the first week of oh boy, I butchered that from the get-go. How has the first week of reopening gone? Has it lived up to your expectations? Ben Joravsky. CPS CEO Ben Joravsky, what's your answer?
Yes, it's lived up to my expectations. Most people didn't go. That was what I expected. You asked me, did it live up to my expectations? Yes. And many teachers are still afraid. I'm afraid. I said this before. My dear friends, my best friends in the world on my bowling team came to my house a little after midnight on Tuesday. And we gathered on the front porch. We had our masks on. It was freezing cold. We talked about basketball and life for about an hour. And when it was all over, I was like, did I get the virus? Did I get the virus? Every day I wake up, no signs that I got the virus. And these are my best friends. And we're all wearing masks because it's cold out. So yes, it lived up to my expectations. My expectations were 1, most people weren't going to show up. And 2, teachers are going to be afraid. And anybody who has to go into school is going to be afraid because we've been taught for the last year to be afraid of this virus. Now you're flipping the switch on us and saying, don't be afraid. Come on. I read this article in the New York Times. I couldn't believe it. This guy, some MAGA guy, was so in favor of school. He was like, just study the science. And so he had like all these science, whenever MAGA says study the science, I have to laugh. It's like, oh, suddenly you're scientists, huh? Anyway, so he was like, I've just concluded that we don't even need to be 6 feet apart. It's safe to be like, squeeze even more kids into the classroom. So yes, D, that's my answer. This is why I would never, ever, ever be made head of CPS. I would say, yeah, I don't blame him for not showing up. I'm not sure I'd show up. I'm afraid of this thing. When my good friends come over, I put the mask on. I go, don't come closer. Too close. Until I get that vaccine. Heck of a job, by the way, of distributing the vaccine in America. Really great job. Thank you, Trump, for all the good work he did on this effort.
He is no Janice Jackson, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe a Barbara Bird Bennett. All right, let's go to we got to read her answer. Janice Jackson said on the first week, I'm happy with the first week. Of course, I'm excited that we're back. I think that the fact we're starting with a phased-in approach, a smaller group of students, is allowing for a successful transition for our principals. A lot of people are nervous about the return to school, implementing the protocols, and so I think it's easier when you come back with a smaller group of students to really get the rhythm. So I haven't heard major concerns. Every school opening you have to deal with logistically, things here and there, but overall, it has met my expectations.
Yeah,
Boy, her answer was a lot more precise and had no sound effects and not as nutty.
That's why she's running the schools and I'm running my mouth in my attic overlooking the porta potty. Go ahead, D.
By the way, we haven't got one in a while. Could you provide us with a porta potty update?
Oh, hey, sure. Hold on one second.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, get away! Whoa! No reefer in the porta potty.
Oh, reefer in the porta potty. Pot in the porta potty.
God damn hoodlums.
What?
Smoking reefer in the porta potty. Edit that out, T, if you're going to send it to any radio station.
Oh, on to question number 2. Thanks for that update, by the way.
You're welcome.
The Sun-Times asks, as far as staffing goes, you said you feel the district is ready. There have been a lot of principals who, talking privately, they're saying they're worried about staffing. If a few teachers get sick, they don't really have a backup plan. What do you say to those principals about their concerns over the next few weeks? What say you, CPS CEO Ben Joravsky?
I'd say to those principals, I'm with you 100%. I'm concerned too. First of all, we're constantly discrediting our teachers. We're constantly fighting their union leaders. We're constantly trying to destroy their union. No wonder nobody wants to work in the city of Chicago. And we're constantly lowballing them in negotiations. And whenever they ask to hire anybody like a nurse or something, they go, shut up and get back to the classroom. So I can understand why people wouldn't want to work in the city of Chicago when you compound it by their fear over the catching the virus. So I understand why principals are saying, I don't know if we're going to have enough teachers. I don't know if we're going to have enough staff. I would say, I've been talking to Troy LaRaviere. He's been saying this forever. I wouldn't even last a half an hour. Okay. The ring. Uh-oh. Lori Lightfoot on the phone. I'm going to take your car. I'm going to take your bong and make you walk home. So that's my response. Yes, I totally relate to those principals because we've made life miserable for the people who work in the Chicago public schools. So why would any of them want to work here?
Janice Jackson's response. You know, we keep getting this question, and I don't think it's helpful in the aggregate, right? Because on the whole, we're ready to go. Now, obviously, there's schools that are outliers where we have concerns. And to your point, if a large number of teachers get sick, then yeah, we have to deal with that issue. But we have put those protocols in place, and I would say if you're in a position where you're having major concerns like that in a school, it would probably trigger some other kind of action. But for our part, I think the district has done a really good job matching the staff availability. Our principals are being extremely flexible at the ground level. You have some schools where maybe one first grade teacher is the remote teacher because they have an accommodation, and the person who's in person is now teaching all students that come. And so if I thought that we didn't have the staffing to reopen, we wouldn't be in this position. Obviously, they are going to always be outliers and one-on-one situations that we have to address. And I think the district has been doing a good job addressing those. Once again, that one way more professional answer than the one you had.
Yeah, you could see why she got the job and I didn't.
All right, guys, that was 2 questions. 11 more to go. We probably won't get through all of them, but after we talk with Rummana and get the Rummana rundown, we'll do a few more of those. CPS CEO Ben Joravsky. What do you think of this segment, Ben? I mean, you'd be horrible at the job, but I mean, what do you think of the segment?
I love the segment. I love running the schools. And I've decided that since I'm running schools, I'm going to speak like Barack Obama because I think it'd be really cool if Barack Obama was the CEO of the Chicago Public Schools. By the way, did we talk about this already? I cannot remember. So we can edit this out if we've already talked about this. Barack Obama's doing a podcast with your favorite performer.
Yeah, we talked about that last week on the Ben Joravsky show.
Signs of premature dementia crawling into to Ben's brain. Can we edit that out, D? Let's just edit that out.
I think you and Monroe talked about it.
Did we?
I think. I know it came up last week, and I remember you said, "Man, I got to check out that podcast."
Oh yes, I did, and I still have not checked it out. But I will check it out. I'm gonna get to it, D. All right, going to get to it.
All right, everybody. That's our local news. Remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows and Benny J bonus interviews like this weekend's coming up Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. ChicagoReader.com and wherever else you download podcasts. You can send us an email, BennyJShow@gmail.com. Jeff sent an email. Jeff, I'm going to send you that song shortly. Don't worry about it. And also, you can reach us online at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can call the Ben Joravsky Show. It's true. 708-658-4788. The number again, 708-658-4788. Ben, in fact, our good friend Jim reached out to us, and he has more Chicago Bulls trivia. We'll try and do that at the end of the program, too. How about that?
Okay, let's hope I do better with the Chicago Bulls trivia than I did with Chicago trivia. Remember
Oh, my God. I didn't want to. I was trying not to bring that up.
I got one question right out of, was it 10?
Yeah.
I don't know how many.
Yeah. Thursday, March 4th, the time when Ben Joravsky embarrassed us with that poor performance of Chicago trivia.
You know what? We should throw some of those questions at Rummana.
Okay.
They're from the Sun-Times. You know,
Oh.
let's throw some of those Chicago trivia questions, see how well she knows Chicago trivia.
All right.
Oh my God, it was pretty embarrassing.
Rummana's with us. She's going to join us after this break. It's the Ben.
Ask me if it's like a really deep, like old political question. I might not, but
they're really dumb Chicago trivia questions, Rummana, and we'll take a break.
Hey,
we may throw one or two at you.
They were great trivia questions. We'll be right back, everybody.
Yay!
State Water Survey at the University of Illinois Prairie Research Institute. This is Illinois State climatologist Trent Ford. Looks like it's a lamb for the start of March. Average temperatures this past week range from the high 30s in northern Illinois to the high 40s in southern Illinois, between 1 and 8 degrees above normal for this time of the year. So it's quite a dramatic change from most of February, while the preliminary statewide average February temperature was 20 degrees, about 11 degrees below the 1991 to 2020 average. The official February statistics will be released next week, but it is likely last month was among the top 10 coldest on record in Illinois. Last month's extreme cold also pushed the preliminary winter season average temperature to about 1 degree below the 1991 to 2020 average.
All right, hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by SEIU Healthcare, Illinois, Indiana, the Chicago Federation of Labor, and the Chicago Reader. Benny J, take it away.
Every Friday, Rummana Hussain, editor-columnist from the Chicago Sun-Times, joins us for his delightful conversation. And Rummana, we have so much to talk about. We're going to talk about whether Andrew Cuomo is the sleaziest politician in America. We're going to talk about Neera Tanden, who got caught up in Twitter storm. Should you tweet if you're not willing to stand by your tweets? We're going to talk about Chicagoans defending Chicago at all costs. We're going to talk about, we're going to give you a huge shout out for recommending Minari and Train to Busan, which are 2 excellent flicks. I urge everybody to watch them. Even if you're not a movie fan, you should watch them. And we'll get other recommendations from you. But before we get to that, we need your opinion about the brouhaha, the controversy breaking out over Dr. Seuss, cancel culture, right-wing MAGA people suddenly discovering their love for Dr. Seuss and his works. The whole issue of Dr. Seuss. Neil Steinberg wrote about it. Mary Smeech wrote about it. Now, Rummana, we need to hear you. What is your thoughts on this controversy? Go ahead.
Now that I'm a lot older, I mean, I can say that I wasn't, all excited over Dr. Seuss books being, pulled from the estate anymore, not being published anymore. So I'm not like a kid anymore. And I was actually thinking back to when I was a kid. I wasn't a huge fan of Cat in the Hat. I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite books. And I didn't really think the cat was that cute or charming. I remember thinking that, but I know Dr. Seuss is a beloved author, and his estate decides to pull 6 of these books. And I actually had heard about the controversy a long time ago about the illustrations he had, particularly of Black individuals and East Asian individuals. Like the East Asian picture was a very stereotypical picture of an East Asian person wearing I guess a conical type of hat, and the eyes were really exaggerated, kind of like Mickey Rooney at Breakfast at Tiffany's. And then the ones of like Black people, they were kind of in like a stereotypical like tribal type of outfit. So I remember seeing the pictures a long time ago. I think it's when people were just talking about when you look at older works, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, I watch movies that I loved in the 80s, and John Hughes, there's been a lot of discussions about his movies. Even Molly Ringwald, who starred in his movies, she actually did a dissection of the movies and talked about why she thought they were wrong in many cases, especially when it pertained to women and people of color. But so I think it's okay to go back and look at things and realize that certain works of arts can be problematic. It isn't like the library or these schools decided like we're just going to get rid of these books. It's a completely different thing when the estate is saying that, hey, we realize that this was problematic and it wasn't considered problematic back then, and we're going to pull these titles. And they weren't like some of the bigger books that Dr. Seuss wrote. It wasn't The Cat and Hat, Green Eggs and Ham. I think I recognized one of the titles of the 6 books, If I Ran a Zoo. I think I've seen that before, like in a kid's hand, but I never saw the other ones. So it's the actual estate doing this. And I read Neil Steinberg's column right before I came on your show today. And Neil was out that this is the realizing, it's also a business. Realize that if they keep this in circulation, people might not read Dr. Seuss. And Dr. Seuss is a multi-million-dollar, business still. His books still sell. He's still a very popular author. So they're probably, Neil was saying they're making a smart business decision. They're reading the room, as Neil said. And I never knew Republicans were such big fans of Dr. Seuss. I would never put 2 and 2 together. So it's kind of interesting to see Republicans suddenly come to the defense of Dr. Seuss. I just never saw, the connection there. But yeah, they're saying that, this is cancel culture. But you started thinking, but what if it was a book that someone wrote, a children's book about white privilege? I can tell you these Republicans will be crying out against the book if there was a children's book talking and pointing out what exactly white privilege is. And there probably are books like that, but I can see, or if there was a book about a Muslim, there's children's books about Muslims celebrating Ramadan or, doing, quote unquote Muslim things. I'm sure if a Republican knew that there was those kind of books in, their children's schools, they'd throw a fit about that. So it depends on what. And we've talked about this before, cancel culture, the people who are crying out against cancel culture are the people who've been canceling things for a long time. It's just that now that their culture is being questioned and people in their camp are being questioned and held accountable, they're all worried about it.
Yeah, to the point you just made about canceling culture, on behalf to protect Republicans and MAGA. One of my favorite segments is once a year or so, a representative of the American Library Association comes on this show and talks about all the books that have been banned. Like they keep track of the books that have been banned the most in our country, and almost, I would say, of the top 10, at least 8 are banned by the conservatives, MAGA, fundamentalist types, because they're children's books that preach tolerance for gays, teach tolerance for trans, talk about sexual identity and how we all should have an open mind and do our best to welcome everybody into the family of man, as they would say in the old days. And so it's just amazing how tone deaf Republicans are, how tone deaf MAGA is whenever they see any evidence whatsoever that somebody is trying to, I don't know, remove a book from a library or from a curriculum because it's offensive to people of color, they're outraged about cancel culture. But at the same time, they go right down to the boards of education and they intimidate school librarians. Get that book out of here. So they're the biggest bunch of frauds. This is me speaking, not Rummana. MAGA is the biggest bunch of frauds in America when it comes to their supposed belief in free expression. They only want free expression for themselves. They don't want it for anybody else. And they use the whole issue like a club to beat the hell out of liberals. And you know, Rummana, what really irritates me about liberals, among many things, is how they fall for it. You know, you must have liberal friends who tell you, oh, you have to admit, like, being woke is like, you know, you could be too woke. Liberals, man, you always fall for this stuff. I don't. You got friends like that, Rummana?
Well, I think some people are just performative wokeness. I don't like people who are performative woke people. You know, they all do it on social media, but they're not really in real life. Those are the woke people that annoy me. The overly woke people on social media who just want to show everybody how woke they are, but they are woke.
Woke. The concept of, all right, let me ask you this, because you raised an interesting point. For instance, I don't know if they were still reading Huckleberry Finn when you were in high school.
Of course.
Okay, they were still reading it. All right. I don't know if they're still reading Huckleberry Finn at all.
It's been I've been in high school, so.
It's been way longer since I was there. So, of course, Huckleberry Finn is a very controversial book to teach. It's filled with the N-word. It's just like pops out on almost every page. Mm-hmm. And so I've heard a lot of people struggle with this. That the way, you know, that you should, the introduction of Huckleberry Finn, there should be an introduction that explains, puts into some kind of context to get people to understand, et cetera, and so forth. Explain why this book's important, even though it says it, this, that, and the other thing. Use it as a history lesson. I don't know how you could do that with a Dr. Seuss book. Like, let's see if that Dr. Seuss book, and the illustrations are pretty offensive. You know, Dr. Seuss evolved as a human being. I mean, he dealt with this. If you take a look at some of the cartoons he did when he was a cartoonist for the New York newspapers in the 40s, and he was for the internment of Japanese Americans. Yeah. Some of those cartoons are absolutely offensive, but he apologized. The man himself, he evolved. So how do you deal with an offensive illustration in a children's book with a kid who's just absorbing? You know how those little 2-year-old brains or 3-year-old brains are just absorbing things. How do you deal with that, Rummana?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I mean, you know, for someone like me, I went to a high school that, you know, in the 80s was probably, you know, in a suburban district was considered quote unquote racially diverse, but we had very few African Americans. So, you know, when we did talk about Huckleberry Finn, you know, and, you know, we've seen people raise issues and people getting all angry when people want to ban the book. And, you know, it's a usually African-American group who would say that, hey, this book, you know, this book is offensive to them. And for someone like me who grew up in a school where there was barely any Black people, yeah, it was easy to say, okay, this is, you know, offensive. The word was wrong. But, you know, I don't remember any African-American students saying like, I don't want to read this book, but they were outnumbered. And I think I've seen some chatter on Twitter, like kids talking about, you know, these are African-American individuals. I shouldn't say kids, they're just younger journalists than I am. And they said that, you know, the books were offensive to them. And, you know, they said that they had understanding teachers where they didn't even have to read the book if they don't want to. So I just think this is a conversation that we have to have. I mean, from someone like me, I enjoy those books, but you know, I don't know if my nephews and nieces read that book anymore. I mean, children's literature is completely different. They read some books that I read when I was younger, but there's like just a whole different genre, a whole different category. There's all these different authors. So they don't even read the same material. And they read things that are, you know, quote unquote woke now, you know, that we had. So maybe they balance it, but I don't remember if my younger nieces and nephews who are at that age where they read that. I'm going to ask them if they ever read Huckleberry Finn, you know, other Mark Twain books. But I think it's a conversation. But yeah, the 2-year-old, the 5-year-old kids getting that book, it does seep into your brain. I mean, kids learn about racism early on. I mean, my first racial slur I heard when I was like in first grade. I mean, the kid learned it somewhere, right? He called me a brownie, and I know he wasn't calling me, you know, someone from the Girl Scouts or like a brownie that you eat. I knew he was, you know, talking about my skin color. And I remember his name. I remember just him saying that, and I knew it was a racial slur. So kids pick up on things earlier than we think. So yeah, having a book like that does affect a child's brains.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. It affects a child's brains and absorbed by a child, and yeah. So I understand why the Dr. Seuss Foundation pulled the books. They have to figure out a way if they're going to bring them back, how to bring them back in some kind of appropriate manner. I don't know. That's a challenge. I don't know how you can do that with an illustration in a book for kids. But here's the irony. I think I pointed this out to you before the show. MAGA, which is just using this issue to distract attention from the fact that they are nowhere to be found on the stimulus bill or opposing the minimum wage, looking for some issue that they could give to their base to fire them up. So to demonize Democrats and liberals by saying they're trying to cancel culture, and they're urging everybody to buy the book. The book, Dr. Seuss book sales are going through the roof right now, and MAGA's buying them, and maybe the only book MAGA reads all year. But the point is that the money is going to the very people that MAGA is supposedly mad at. The people who run the foundation, they're the ones that are getting the money. So you're rewarding the people you want to punish, MAGA.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's like the estate is not going to be, you know, hurting. So I don't know who they think they are. I mean, and I think the books, maybe they can be redone and just take those illustrations, those specific illustrations out. Or like have a discussion with these different racial groups, activists, and ask what can be done. You know, if the language is fine, like, can we reprint this book? It's not like we can't have a discussion on this and get rid of the offensive photographs or the pictures, illustrations.
All right, let's move on from MAGA. We're not going to solve them. The problem with MAGA in one show. And let's go on to Neera Tanden. I have, as you know, sort of a general bias against, that's so unfair. I just have a thing about people who just obsessively tweet. Neera Tanden, of course, the economic advisor that Joe Biden wanted to put in charge of what was his Office of Budget. He had to withdraw the nomination because the Senate wasn't going to approve her because she's a history of obsessively tweeting. Really upset, beyond anything, Rummana, that you or any of your friends do. I mean, Neera Tanden, she tweeted more than Donald Trump. Believe that is astounding. She issued more tweets than Donnie Trump, and she'd be up all night like battling Bernie Sanders supporters. Some like 20-year-old grad student, she'd be trash talking him on Twitter. Anyway, so she wants to be the head of the OMB. The Republicans are mad at her. Bernie Sanders is mad at her, although Bernie would have voted for her. And so Biden had to pull the nomination. My attitude about Neera Tanden is that if you're going to tweet, stand by your tweets. I just don't understand Twitter heads who tweet, and then when they want something that, you know, is in the mainstream, they tweet out of the mainstream, and then they want something in the mainstream, they pull down their tweets and apologize for them. I'm not feeling it, Rummana. It'd be like, I've said this before, if I started pulling down my columns because I wanted to get appointed by Lori Lightfoot at somebody, you know what I mean? Can you imagine? Oh, let's start burning these columns. I mean, it's like, you got to stand by what you're right, in my humble opinion. Your thoughts on this?
No, you bring up a good point. I've actually seen different pieces on it, on her withdrawing. I've seen Asian American groups saying that, you know, this is totally unfair. And then, you know, I've seen other people pointing out that, you know, some of these Republicans who are complaining about her tweets have more offensive tweets than the tweets she had. So, you know, I think those are good points. But you also raise a good point in terms of standing by what you believe in. she said she apologized, quote, for the language and past language, unquote, that she used. And, if you feel that strongly about something and you're willing to put it out there, frankly, just between you and me, I do like Twitter, but there are some people who they just live on Twitter all the time. I mean, they tell you everything they're doing. Sometimes I feel like they don't have friends because they'll be like, hey, does anybody want to, this is before when we had, movies, they'd be like, hey, does anybody want to go catch the new Star Wars movie with me? And I'm like, God, you have like a zillion followers and you have no friends that you can find to take you to watch a movie. So some of these people, and they're usually younger than me, they live their lives on Twitter. Now, Neera Tandon's, I think she's older than me. And I kind of think why would you, doesn't your family stop you? Mick, my husband, when he's talking to me about something that I'm not that interested in, I'm like texting my friends or my family and, we're joking about something I'm interested in. And he's like, hey, get off the phone. Are you listening to me? And he's like, what did I just say? So, I know that's a bad habit. So, and I don't do it that much, but I do go on my phone and I'm texting my friends. You were texting me about a Train to Busan earlier this week, and he was talking to me about Peter, Paul, and Mary. So it was kind of like a welcome relief. I was texting you back and forth while I was getting a crash course history on Peter, Paul, and Mary. So I have to tell you, so that happens. So, but I'm just saying, sometimes I get distracted by texts, and I just can't imagine having a family and just tweeting all day. I would just go berserk. So I think that if you do feel strongly, I feel strongly behind all the tweets I tweet. And if someone said that, oh, you should take this tweet down, I don't think I would. But I do think you raised a good point. I don't know that much about Neera Tandon. I know her, I know her politics. I know that she kind of butt heads with Bernie Sanders, and she worked for Hillary Clinton for a long time, right? And the Obama administration. So I don't know. I looked at some of the tweets. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't find any of them super offensive. So just say hey, I'm fine.
I'm with you. I didn't find. And listen, I love Bernie Sanders. So, but, I give as good as I get. If I'm going to rip mainstream Dems, I got to expect the mainstream Dems are going to come after me, and they do all the time. So it's sort of I didn't hold it against her that she was fighting the Bernie, even my beloved Bernie Sanders supporters. And I totally agreed with what she said about Ted Cruz. I think she said vampires have more heart than Ted Cruz, something like that. Why are you apologizing for that? Most Republicans agree with you. Republicans, this is part two. Republicans are fraud. This is Ben speaking, not Rummana. They are such frauds. Donald Trump is the biggest violator of standards on Twitter in the world. They cry like little babies when Twitter finally kicked them off. And now they're offended. Neera Tandon insulted Ted Cruz. He said he has no heart. Well, you don't think he has it. Where is the heart? Show me the heart in Ted Cruz.
I think you're so totally right. And someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she never really apologized. Did she? Her apology was a non-apology. So it's okay, if the Republicans say worse things and they don't apologize, why do you have to apologize? I think that would have been better. And maybe Neera Tandon didn't think that she would have to withdraw. She didn't think the pressure would be that, and so, or maybe she did know that and she decided to apologize. But I think if you feel that strongly and you're that on Twitter, yeah, don't apologize. The other side doesn't have to apologize, so I don't think you need to either, unless that's something horribly offensive, know. But the Republicans are saying things 10 times worse, and nobody's apologized for any of that.
Absolutely. What a bunch of frauds. All right. Now let's move on to subject item number 3. I'm up in arms about New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, and I must preface this by saying, as a Bernie guy, I always thought Andrew Cuomo sucked. I don't know how else to say it. He's like New York's version of Rahm. He's real arrogant. He's real nasty. He just thinks he knows everything. And it's like biting him back. I won't even talk about what he did in terms of covering up COVID deaths in nursing homes, etc. But I'm just talking about the reports of his utter sleaziness and sexual harassment of women. So the question I have for you is, Andrew Cuomo the sleaziest politician in America? Rummana Hussain, go.
or at this moment, he's probably the sleaziest politician that we know of. But, this kind of behavior is probably very pervasive among many men and many politicians. I mean, when I heard about it, I shouldn't say that I wasn't surprised, but it of course, like, women get, taken aback just hearing some of this stuff. But I feel like people don't take sexual harassment seriously until these certain individuals are called out. Otherwise, like, people laugh. And I've always said that if men were, if like you were in your 20s or 30s and there was like women who were in their 60s like grabbing at you or making comments about your face, your physical appearance, I think men would take it a lot seriously if this happened to them. But this stuff doesn't, it's not usual for, men to get accosted by older women the way older men accost younger women. And this brings me back to, your boy Woody Allen, where I was going to say, I actually tweeted about Woody Allen this week. I just couldn't take it. My tweet was like, not to brag, but I thought Woody Allen was creepy and revolting way before, when everybody else thought he was cool. Because I saw the second episode of the Woody Allen documentary, and there's this one great part of the documentary where they're laying out all these movies where Woody Allen shows like him or another old man with these young women, and these like film critics were basically saying, we all thought these movies were great, but what he was doing was normalizing the way older men behaved, predatory behavior. And for years, like, I've been like told that I was like crazy because I didn't like Woody Allen movies. And I've watched Woody Allen movies, but just not the ones with him in it, because he would creep me out. That was just kind of creepy. And I never watched Manhattan. Everybody, especially men, tell me what a great movie it is. But anyway, so I'm like watching the clip in this documentary, and Muriel Hemingway, she's only 16 years old in the movie and he's 42. And the movie makes it seem like she's the predator. It's just the way the normalization of this behavior of older men towards younger women has been out there for a long time, and it's been accepted and it's been seen as cute and charming. So this sort of stuff happens to, I'm sure if you talk to any woman in your life, this sort of stuff has happened to them with a man in a position of power. And so I don't know, Andrew Cuomo at this point, everybody obviously is like grossed out by it, but I bet there's a lot of men who behave like this. And, I don't know how like people don't call it out when it happens, but I think it's because women aren't sure. Like, these are two of his accusers are his former aides, right?
Yeah.
One of them, he kissed one of them, and he said he's always been kissing people and hugging them. That's what his dad did, and he's learning now that behavior isn't accepted anymore. But
throws his dad under the bus. Damn, blame it on dad, dear old dad.
So yeah, so I don't know. I think you raise a good point. It probably is right now, but sleaziest politician that we know of right now, but. I think that this behavior is probably more pervasive than, we know of. And there's probably a lot of politicians that everybody thinks is like wonderful and, nobody talks about it anymore because that guy's long gone. And then, years later, people say stuff. But, it's good to call people out if these things did, look into allegations, because these allegations should be taken seriously. Of course, these are all allegations against him right now, but they should be taken seriously.
I will say this, Andrew Cuomo will not be the sleaziest politician in America so long as Donald Trump is on the scene, in my humble opinion. Donald Trump will always remain one. And let me just address the Woody Allen issue, which I must confront. You are so right. When you were, that was a great riff, and I was cheering you. I had the sound down, but I was cheering you. You're absolutely correct. Manhattan is one of the most disgusting movies ever. And I will now make a confession. I thought it was disgusting when I saw it. It really unnerved me, and I was young. Even for me, I was young. When Manhattan came out, I was under 22 or something like that. I'm really young. And it even creeped me out. But then I kept giving him a second chance. It's much like me and Michael Jackson. So he did another movie that I really liked, like Manhattan Murder Mystery, or Crimes and Misdemeanors, or Small Time Crooks, which I'll give him one more chance. But I'm through with him. Rummana, through with him. You were with that riff you did was so good, was so true. All those movies where the older men, and then when he became even too ancient, he put like younger substitutes of him, and I have younger in quotes, like Larry David. Larry David, who would be like a younger version of Woody Allen, would be like, and what's old boy's name? Will Ferrell. They put Will Ferrell in him. You know what I'm saying? So you're right. You're absolutely right. I stand accused and guilty as charged. And I had to address this with Michael Jackson because I had to confess how much I love this song. Never Can Say Goodbye. I don't know if that song's before your time, if you know what it is, but it's a Michael Jackson song. It's a Jackson 5 song. So I deal with this. I struggle with this. This is a confession moment for me. You threw it right back at me and I deserved it. All right. Before we go to Rummana's recommendations, I have to ask you this. This popped up into my head when we were chatting before the show. The way in which Chicagoans, just find this like really hard to take, defend the stupid things that Chicagoans do by saying other people do it. We had this conversation. I don't want to say what we were talking about because this is going to be a topic that Rummana writes about, and I don't want to scoop her story and everything. So we're going to hold off on discussing the specifics of it. But in telling me what was going down, you told me that somebody's response to this story you're writing about is, well, that happens all the time. I can't take that as a justification from Chicagoans. Like, what? How is that? You know what I'm saying? To justify something bad that you're doing by saying other people do it. How is that a justification? Please explain this to me, Rummana. Go ahead.
Well, this person was telling me in terms of like the way certain things are written, the way legislation is written, the way it gets rewritten. And my response was, well, no doubt. And this person said that, by the way, while they heard me discussing this issue with you, they said I was misquoting. and I wasn't. He said that I was part of the quote. But anyway, no, I mean, it's a good point. I thought you were going to talk about how Chicagoans, our famous people, are loved outside of Chicago.
Yes.
More than Chicago.
Let's talk about that, too. Go ahead.
But you're right. I mean, that shouldn't be an excuse just because, like, it's kind of like, you know, the sexual harassment we were talking about. Like, oh, yeah, old men, like, you know, grab women's butts all the time. So, or like, and men in general. So, like, whatever. And that was the attitude, right? Boys will be boys. So that doesn't mean that we don't call it out. We should call it out when it comes to politics and everything else. But yeah, the Chicago thing I do think is true. I do think that there are politicians and personalities that everybody, like, outside of Chicago, is all enamored with, and then everybody in Chicago is like, oh, that person, we don't like them. And that's true with politicians. I was telling you, like, on a local, like on a very macro or micro level, like even within my community, the Muslim community, like there was like maybe one or two people that we like, you know, something happened to them, they became stars, you know, and then all of a sudden, like everybody, and we knew what they were like inside Chicago. And so they would be like, you know, their Facebook posts would be filled with people like bragging about them, and everybody else in Chicago would be like, oh my God, this person's so annoying. And, you know, and then eventually like all this person's friends, Facebook friends in Chicago, they just like couldn't stand the like posturing, and they're just like, you know, they left. And the only people gushing about this person are people like from out of town. So yeah, I do think that's true. Like with our politicians, we've probably seen it with several of our politicians. Like people outside of Chicago like them more than people in Chicago. And you know, I know we were talking about Andrew Cuomo, but I just posted an AP story right before I started this podcast where, you know, the headline was now the rest of America knows what New Yorkers already knew. But you were pointing out a good thing about it. All these New Yorkers.
Bunch of frauds.
What
frauds? Yeah, come on. I have to say that because you pointed that. You said that to me. And Andrew Cuomo ran for re-election in the Democratic primary in 2018 against Cynthia Nixon, who's the lefty candidate. I would have voted for her in a heartbeat. And I think he got over 60% of the vote. I can't remember the exact percentage, but he trounced her. And then he was like a really bad sport, typical Andrew Cuomo, pounding his chest like, I'm the man. So New Yorkers, don't act like you knew about Andrew. You kept electing him. In fact, he's thinking about running. People are saying step down. He hasn't ruled out running for re-election. So those dummies in New York will probably re-elect him. So don't act like you're that so smart, New Yorkers, about Andrew Cuomo. That was my reaction, Rummana, when I saw that. But yeah, but you're right. Like Lori Lightfoot is so popular with Trevor Noah and Steve Colbert, you know, they like, lefties in Chicago, like, whoa.
I think it's true. And it's probably true in other cities too. Like, you know, people probably outside, you know, we probably look at other figures and are like, oh, wow. I mean, everybody was gushing about Andrew Cuomo during the pandemic, but people were doing that in Chicago with Lori Lightfoot and Pritzker too. They're just like, wow. And my whole attitude is I'm not taking, you know, anything away from them, but it's kind of annoying to watch people gush over people because they're doing what the politicians when they're doing their jobs. I just think that's our bar has gotten so low that everybody gets excited when somebody does the right thing or what the politician is supposed to do, like even the bare minimum. I mean, even with Trump, like all of a sudden after the Capitol riots, there's a couple of Republicans saying, oh, this is terrible. Where were you 4 years ago? And then everybody's like applauding them and acting like they deserve a medal. I'm sorry. I don't think people like that deserve a medal.
Yeah, you raise a very good point. We'll probably be talking about this in future episodes because Trump was so, and this is me speaking for myself, Trump was so offensive and for those 4 years on so many levels. And he was so horrifically bad at meeting the country's needs on so many levels that I felt when anybody defied Trump, I would have wanted to cheer him. When anybody showed a different side of what a politician could do or behave, I would want to applaud him. And you're right. It was part of it was a reaction to Donald Trump.
But that's different than the people who are standing by him all these years.
Oh yeah, well they're just
Yeah, I mean, I like the people who stood out and loud. I'm talking about the people who just stood there and didn't say anything, and then all of a sudden they grow a spine after the Capitol riots on January 6th. They're like, whoa, okay, now we're, all the racism, all the sexism, the treatment of reporters, just his ineffectiveness. That was fine, but it took that to, it took the, actual violence that could have harmed them to, finally stop and, realize. And I don't think people like that deserve a medal or recognition.
I agree with you there. All right, let's move on to Rummana's recommendations. I think you should take a victory walk. Last week you gave 2 recommendations, and it was Rummana weekend at the Jarofsky household. My wife and I watched both on separate nights. And Minari, I couldn't get over what a great movie that is. It is an American movie, okay, made by an American, all right? He's a Korean American, but he's an American. Why the Golden Globes put it in the category of foreign movies, I do not know. I understand that some of the dialogue is in Korean because it's a story about Korean immigrants. I understand that, but a lot of the dialogue is in English. Great movie. Can't thank you enough for recommending. I urge everybody to check it out. And the other one is the vampire movie from 2016, which I've been recommending to everybody, Train to Busan. And what I've discovered, Rummana, is that the world's divided into people who like zombie. I said vampire, I meant zombie. Zombie movies, and people who don't. And there's a lot of people out there who don't like zombie movies, which kind of surprised me.
I actually don't, and I have a connection between Minari and the zombie movies, but I actually grew up not really liking zombie movies. And then, my younger sister started watching The Walking Dead a few years ago, and she goes, oh, you got to watch The Walking Dead. And we were a couple years out, it already started. And then I started watching it, and then I started liking the show. Is really good. So the lead in Minari, Stephen Wen, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. He was in The Walking Dead, and that's what got him famous. And there was like when his character was killed off, but he was one of his character was Glenn, and everybody loved Glenn. And there was the show where he was killed off, and no one saw it coming. And it was like, I know it's really funny because I can tell you I was watching it. Mick doesn't watch a lot of shows with me. He was sitting there on eating dinner, and I was like in like a couple feet away, and I'm like, I was like, totally like, freaked out. And he's like, what happened? I'm like, they killed Glenn. And then he's like, what? And so he's because of his character in The Walking Dead, Glenn. And I told you, and then, I know you have one of the guests, Samina Mustafa, on your show. Like, she's one of your frequent guests. A couple years ago, she was on this Asian American group that does a lot of work for, advancing. It's called, I don't want to mispronounce it, but it's basically a bunch of Asian American activists pushing for Asian American legislation and just a lot of charity work. And so he was going to come to this event, and Samina Mustafa was trying to get people to come. And I'm like, what? Stephen Wen's going to be there? And I said, I'm going to come. Can I get a selfie with him? And she was all right. Yeah, totally. So I remember going, and then the poor guy got sick or something happened, and he sent a video message. And this is like 3-4 years ago. I was so bummed. So they said that they were trying to get him to come to another event. But I think his popularity since then has really risen. He's like in a lot of movies, and, I'm glad. So the zombie show is what got Stephen Wen popular. So I thought Train to Busan, I'm not even a huge zombie fan, but I think there's a lot of deeper meanings in the movie. I don't know, Dennis, if you watched it, it's really good. You don't even have to like zombies to watch it. And I just thought it was really good. It was creative. And it was kind of fast paced, and it was really kind of like, it wasn't like super scary, but it did make me scared a lot. And it probably made me cry more than your favorite film, Sylvie's Loves, or whatever it was called, Ben.
Which one?
Which Sylvie's Love.
Oh, I love Sylvie's Love. Don't trash Sylvie's Love. I just couldn't hear you. Yeah, Sylvie's Love. Yeah, that and the Sophia Loren movie are probably two of my favorite movies of the year. I Train to Busan again. That movie is in Korean, so you have to watch it with English subtitles. And I know that turns off a lot of people I know. You just don't want to watch subtitles. I don't get it, but whatever. But if you're not turned off by subtitles, or just give it a shot, folks. It is.
I don't get how you could be turned off by subtitles. I told my little nephew, who was born in 2009, I said he loves scary movies. So I go, I think you really like this movie. And I asked him, I go, do you mind reading subtitles? And he said no. So if a little boy can do it,
it's just practice, you'll get it.
Yeah, I think it's fine. And then and you raised a point about Minari. I mean, I was born in the United States. I grew up speaking another language at home. I talked to my parents in Urdu like 99.9% of the time. That's part of the experience of a lot of Americans not speaking English all the time. And so I just
absolutely
that people don't think that that's part of the American experience. And that's part of the problem. And that's something that the Trumpsters would say, like Minari should be put in, the foreign language category. And as you know, the Golden Globes has had never a member on the Hollywood Press Association, whatever the group of members are that vote on this. They never had a black member. So that was the biggest thing in the Golden Globes which I watched. I recorded it and I fast forwarded a lot, but it was interesting to say the least.
All right. So in the aftermath of such a triumphant week last week with your recommendations, we'll close with your recommendations for this week. Now, no pressure to follow up on last week's great recommendations.
You have to admit I have good taste. I do lead you down a good path and get you to watch good things. But I think if you like I said last week, I'm going to mention it again because I had like a zillion recommendations last week. If you're looking for something lighthearted, Wayne, it's on Amazon Prime. It's like a coming of age teenage show, but you might have objections to it because the lead character in it, he was in Sing Street and he's Irish American and he plays a Boston guy with a strong Boston accent. You might get mad at that since he's not from Boston. But it's a good show. But I think this week a lot of people are going to be watching tonight or this weekend Coming to America, the sequel to the original Coming to America. This Coming to America is number 2. This is Eddie Murphy and his family 30 years later. I think when did the original come out? In the 80s. I was a kid when I saw it, so I'm trying to remember. The original was in the 80s, right?
Yeah, it's all a blur to me. 80s, 90s.
Yeah, it was in the 80s. I'm looking for the date now.
It was.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna watch that, and I still want to watch I Care a Lot. I heard a lot of good things about that. The actress actually won a Golden Globe for her performance in that. And she is British. Sorry, she's a British actress.
I Care a Lot got a recommendation from our legal affairs expert Jim Coogan. It has to deal with people who exploit senior citizens, and I don't want to give too much of it away. And he said it's definitely worth watching.
Lead is British, so you'll be mad about that.
My inner Donald Trump.
1988, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. That makes sense.
Damn. I saw it when it came out. That's how old I am. I saw it when it came out. I saw it at the movie theaters. All right. So I will dutifully watch Wayne. I will take your advice. I will probably watch Coming to America 2, since I liked the first one so much. I have to finish watching WandaVision. My wife really likes it, so I'm just sort of...
You like it? Because I'm hearing a lot of buzz about it.
I'm getting into it. It takes a while for me to get into it. I probably will not like it as, I don't know. It's getting, as soon as I said, I've only watched half of it. It's getting better as time goes on. But my wife really likes it. And fair is fair, Rummana. I've made her watch so many shows that I want to watch. So I'm sort of obligated to see it through. And, so that's, but thank you again. I urge everybody, Train to Busan it works as as a zombie movie. It works as like an action flick where you jump because things that shock you. But it's also a parable about greed and selfishness and, just corporate greed. It just works on so many different levels. So it was a blast to watch it. So, all right, Rummana, stay safe.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Rummana, do you have time to do at least one Chicago trivia question?
Yes. Give her two. Go ahead. Let's go.
All right. So, Rummana, obviously you work with the Sun-Times. So have you seen this at all?
No.
Perfect. Okay, great. All right. Ben did horrible, by the way, so just know that. We did this yesterday for Ben. All right, I went through a few of these questions here. Chicago trivia question. You guys can answer these questions yourself at Chicago Sun-Times. Satchel Price, you're the man. Thank you. All right, your question, Rummana. Lincoln Park Zoo opened after being gifted a pair of what animal from New York City? You have options. Lions, elks, pumas, swans, or monkeys?
Monkeys.
You're going monkeys?
Or lions.
Monkeys or lions? Which one? Which one?
It's a multiple. That's like the ACT. Well, it's either A or B. No, you got to pick one or the other.
Lions. I'm going to go with lions.
You're going with lions? All right. Let me channel my inner Regis Philbin here. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Final answer. You feel good about that? Lions. Lions. That's what we're going with. Okay, well. The answer. Let's see. Nope, that's wrong.
Oh.
Swans.
Oh.
Central Park's Board of Commissioners gifted the zoo a pair of swans in 1868. Around when Ben was born.
Rummana, I said lions too. Okay, I said lions.
Lions and zoo, and I have to tell you, Lincoln Park Zoo is the first place I ever took a field trip when I was in kindergarten.
Now, this one here, we have to ask you this real quick. I want to see if you can get it. Ben, once again, did not. But the question to you is, I think you can do this, Rummana. How many lines does the famous Chicago L train system have?
Oh, okay. Wait. There's purple, there's a green, yellow, red, blue. I think 5.
Is that your final answer? 5.
Oh, wait, there's orange too. 6.
Is that your final answer? 6.
Yeah. Yes.
Are you sure about that answer? You feel good about that answer?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
All right, she says 6. Let me put in 6 here. I already know the answer, but let me just play along. Hold on. 6. All right. Yeah. Almost. There's actually 8. There are 8 lines.
It was going to be more than that, or 6.
I forgot the pink line too.
Oh, yeah.
And then I don't really count the the yellow line, the one that goes out to Skokie. It's like it's not really Chicago. I mean, it starts at Howard Street, but it's a tough question. I tell you what, that sometimes they threw some curveballs. So I don't feel so bad, Rummana. Not only did we get the same answers wrong, we got the same wrong answers.
Oh.
I said 5, and then I said, wait a minute, 6. I did the same thing. Great minds think alike. All right, we'll let you off the hook. Well, no more questions. Wait, give her the one that I got right.
Okay.
Okay. Let me like I study every show. Let me which one? I don't know which one you got right. Hold on.
I got the one right about Wrigley Field.
Oh, all right. Here we. What's that?
No, I thought he was telling me the answer. So.
Oh no.
Rummana,
what was the original name of Wrigley Field? Addison Field, Cubs Park, Weigman Park. It's always been Wrigley Field.
I think it's always been Wrigley Field.
All right, Ben did better than you because it's Weigman Park.
Oh, No? Okay. Well, it was always since I was a kid, so I just assumed.
All right. You know what? Let's spare her any more questions. I did terrible on this thing too, and so let's just blame the test. Let's say the test is
Biased.
is biased. Yes. Come on, sometimes get a better test. All right, Rummana, stay safe and sound. We'll talk to you next week. All right.
Take care, guys.
All right. That's the great Rummana Hussain from the Chicago Sun-Times. Our guest every Friday. D, you got any updates for us before we head out that door?
Great job from Rummana. Oh, wait. Damn it. Forgot to give her my I was going to recommend over the weekend she watch those series of Cuomo videos from last year. I mean, they won an Emmy.
Geez, nobody will be watching those anymore. Oh, that Emmy. Hey, the Emmys want that Emmy back, Cuomo. Give that Emmy back.
Yeah, maybe next week. All right, everybody. Let's do the back half here. First, wait, hold on. Yeah? Really? Okay. Ben, the newsroom's flagging me down.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. We haven't heard from the news.
From them in a while.
I know we haven't. I hope they're okay. I haven't really checked on them. All right. Well, we got some breaking news. Let me run to the newsroom real quick. Listeners, hang tight. Ben, hang tight. We got a news story here. 1 second. Hang tight. Hey, give me the story. What? Who cares? Thank you. Talking about like their favorite zombie movies. Who cares?
I'm curious what they like. Go ahead, D.
It's a good story. I'm not curious at all. Good story here. Breaking news.
Oh.
The following comes from the damn toughest trivia question askers on the planet, the Chicago Sun-Times. Very, very hard stuff. All right, we do have breaking news here. Oh, what does this say? Hold on. The newsroom. Come on. A printer. All right, we need a new printer in the newsroom. The ink's gone low. All right, here we go. I think I can read this. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and John Seidel. Political operative Roberto Caldero pleads not guilty to charges involving ex-alderman Danny Solis. Political operative Roberto Caldero pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors last week revealed a 20-page grand jury indictment against Caldero. In doing so, they further pulled back the curtain of the undercover work of Solis, who left the city council after the Chicago Sun-Times in January 2019 revealed he'd been cooperating for years with the feds. The new indictment alleged that Caldero offered Solis as much as $20,000 in campaign contributions to help an Ohio company, because we got to help out Ohio, land a $1 billion custodial contract with the Chicago Public Schools, as well as $50,000 in campaign contributions to help secure an honorary street designation and park renaming for members of the family. Caldero also allegedly bribed a high-ranking CPS official, Pedro Soto, with job offers, champagne, and admission to an annual museum benefit.
No. Well, these are allegations, of course, so innocent to proven otherwise. I knew Caldero way a long time ago, D, in the 80s when I first moved to town. He was a young political activist, operative. I remember him working on Louis Gutierrez's early campaigns in the 80s. He was always one of these guys who was telling me how the system really worked. This is how it really works, okay? Everybody's always, this is how it really works. So I haven't seen him in years. But let me just point on the one thing. The Ohio company gets the custodial contract. Oh, that's your privatization deals that you love so much, liberals, Dems. Huh? Privatize. Real legitimate good jobs that go to Chicagoans who have to live here. Get a pension, get good health benefits, make a good living, live in a neighborhood, and take the money that we pay them to do a decent job and invest it in a neighborhood. Oh, suddenly we don't want that anymore. That was Mayor Rahm's big idea. We don't want that anymore. Instead, we want to farm out most of the money to the bosses who own the company, who hire people for less. That was considered, quote unquote, reform. So now all these scandals from these privatization deals, and you still get these good government types trying to convince you that it was a good idea to fire Chicagoans and give the money to somebody from Ohio. Heck of a job, Dems. Heck of a job you've done running this city with your privatization deals. But you're outraged now. The same people who are endorsing the privatization deals We're outraged by this culture of political corruption in Chicago. I don't know how it happens. Very outraged. That's why people leave Chicago. Oh, you weren't outraged when they were doling out the contracts. Then you were applauding it. We think it's a good idea to cut costs, to eliminate unnecessary expenses in our city and school budget by getting people to do the work for less. It's a great idea. Well, of course, we don't believe in it for ourselves, but we believe in it for custodians. That's the brains of corporate Chicago, as articulated by the editorial boards in this city. When are you going to learn, Chicago? Never. You're never going to learn. Never going to learn.
Hey, I'm going to Office Depot this weekend to get ink. Give me your money. Thank you.
I'll tell you what who learned. The newsroom. They know it's a scam, D.
Oh, yeah, they know it's a scam.
They know it's a scam.
Yeah, they're the smartest guys in the city of Chicago, I tell you. All right, we got enough money for printer ink. I'll go this weekend to Office Depot. All right,
yes.
Let's do a little CPS CEO Ben Joravsky. Yes, it's a very fictional segment that we're doing today on the program.
By the way, my answers have totally. Have you noticed how my answers are much different than Janice Jackson's answers?
Yeah, big time. One sounds less hippie-ish.
Yes, exactly. Well put.
All right. Wait, hold on. Do we have more breaking news here?
Oh.
Wait, hold on. Well, I got to read this here. Okay. We'll save this for next week. We will save this news for next week.
What could that be?
Yeah, what the hell? Let's do it. Breaking news.
Oh, okay.
The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and the one and only Fran, the Woe Man, Spielman. The headline reads, Lightfoot accused of, quote, going her own way on issues pivotal to progressive voters. Mayor Lightfoot was accused Friday of going her own way or, quote, putting up roadblocks on 4 issues pivotal to progressive voters: civilian police review, search warrant reform, police spending, and an elected school board. Alderwoman Maria Hadden, Ben of what ward?
49th.
What a dork. Is the prime mover behind a more sweeping search warrant reform ordinance embraced by Anjanette Young, the innocent woman forced to stand naked, crying and pleading, while an all-male team of Chicago police officers raided the wrong home. On Friday, Hadden vowed to, quote, forge ahead with her own ordinance, arguing that it is stronger in 17 different ways than the reforms outlined by executive order by Lightfoot and Police Superintendent David Brown. Here's the quote from Hadden, quote, we need to come up with our own solutions. We need to do it with the community. We need to win back the trust of all Chicago government has lost over many decades. We're working through a legislative process. This is not leaving the accountability or the value or the perception of a policy change up to one person. Ben, your thoughts? You're on mute. Let's hit that. Let's unmute that mic.
Yes. I put it on mute because I had the hiccups.
Oh, no.
I thought that was the breaking news. Ben is the hiccups. Doing that imitation of the hiccups may bring it back.
Oh, God.
Not a good idea. But I'm with you, Maria Hadden, alderwoman of the 49th Ward, who's kind of been going along a little bit. You ever notice this, Steve, like within the progressive, everybody's a progressive now, so you can't really call them progressive. But like within the Democratic Socialist realm of the city council, there are those who like openly battle Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and she can't stand. She obviously cannot stand them. And then there's the good ones, in quotes, like who occasionally vote with her. And Lori Lightfoot's attitude is, why can't you all be like Maria Hadden? Why can't you, rest of you, Byron Cicero Lopez, be like Andre Vasquez? How come you, Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez, listen to Carlos Ramirez Rosa and you don't do like Sue Sadlowski Garza? It's like they got the favorites and it's like I had to deal with this all the time when I was working with Mick Dumke. Everyone liked Mick Dumke. Why can't you be more like Mick Dumke, Ben? So I can relate. Now Maria Hadden. I don't know. You keep this up, Maria Hadden in the 49th Ward. Lori Lightfoot will be yelling at you. I'm not going to swear because this is the new resolution I had. No more swearing on the Ben Joravsky Show. We discussed this at the outset. We're going to close the show the way we began it. But you keep this up, Maria Haddon. You keep speaking out against the mayor's proposals. You keep standing up for what you believe in and what most of Chicago activists believe in. Then she's going to tell you to go beep yourself.
I appreciate you editing yourself. A lot of cursing going on the Ben Joravsky Show these days. Boy, this week we had that Weiss guy. My God.
So
MF this, MF that.
News. I have seen this coming for a long time on police issues. Lori Lightfoot campaigned as a quote-unquote reformer on police issues and is hesitant to, she hadn't advanced her full slate of proposals yet. So she's resisting efforts to have civilian oversight of the proposals that are out there. So Maria Haddon, get used to it. You keep this up, and she's going to be treating you like your name was Byron Sisho Lopez.
Maria, you're more than welcome to come on the Ben Joravsky Show to talk about whatever you want to talk about, all right? We had Matt Martin come on the show. We've had Ray Lopez come on the show. You were invited as well, obviously, right, Ben?
On. Maria Haddon's been on the show.
I mean, yeah. But now that she's got, this whole thing going on.
Now
hey,
she's stepping up. You're right. Yeah. She's in JT country.
If you need an outlet, the Ben Joravsky Show is always here. I'm in my apartment. Ben's in his attic. Maybe you'll get a porta potty update if you're lucky when you come on. Only if you're lucky. You'd be so lucky. All right. So I guess we're not doing this 13 questions thing. We're gonna roll on here. Ben, you can take the tie and jacket off. You're no longer the CPS CEO. Thank God. So what do you say we do one thing here? We did get a Bulls trivia question from Jim.
All right.
So we'll end it out with some Bulls trivia, then we'll call it a week.
All right.
You too can call the Ben Joravsky Show. It's true. 708-658-4788. The number again, 708-658-4788. Call the Ben Joravsky Show. You can give us a trivia question like Jim. You can just go on a riff about something, rant about something. That's fine. You can prank call us, do whatever you want. 708-658-4788. And there's a good chance that we will play your voicemail on the program like we're about to do with our good friend Jim. Jim gives us Bulls trivia questions from time to time, and it's time for his latest installment of Bulls trivia. Jimbo Jambo, take it away, sir.
Hey, Ben. Hey, Dennis. This is Jim calling. Got a Bulls trivia question for Ben. Since it's All-Star weekend, I'll keep it to that subject. The NBA All-Star game is this coming Sunday. So my question for Ben is, how many times has the NBA All-Star game been held in Chicago, the home of the Bulls? And I will email the answer to Dennis. Okay, guys, have a great day.
Jim, you're awesome. And he did email me the answer. Ben Joravsky, how many All-Star games have been in the city of Chicago? NBA All-Star.
Three. 1, 2, 3. 1973. Dave Cowens, Nate Archibald. I think Dave Cowens won the MVP that year. Great All-Star game, 1973. 1988. Dennis's favorite All-Star game, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, at age 25, won the slam dunk contest. And they said it was the crowd. It was the judges were motivated by the crowd, and that Dominique Wilkins should have won it. I still say MJ deserved to win it. And then, of course, last year, right before the pandemic hit, 2020, they didn't have one Bull. I was outraged, if you recall these. Zach LaVine should have been on that roster, but they left him out. So 3 times. 3 is my answer, Dennis.
You're going with 3. Okay. Is that your final answer, Ben?
Yes.
You feel confident about that answer? 3?
Yes.
Not 2, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 3?
3.
He says 3. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yay for our teachers! Yay for our teachers!
It was 3. 1973, 1988, and, of course, the most recent, 2020.
Come on, man. I know my Bulls trivia. I watched all 3 of those games. 1973, Dave Cowens and Nate Archibald, man. The glory days of the early 70s, dude.
You're old.
1973. That was like pre-Dennis time. Pre-Dennis time. I think
I was born in 83.
Mick Dumke watched that. Yeah, so it was pre-Dennis time. Mick Dumke watched the 73 All-Star game, and I believe his reaction was, cuckoo caca. That's how old he was. He wasn't really speaking in full sentences, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
All right, that's our show.
He's been
for
writing
today.
Chicago Reader
Right,
columns for 40 years, guys. Go get his latest, greatest hits. It's a book from Ben Jarofsky. Get it now, chicagoreader.com/Jarofsky. No one can see the book, Ben. I know you're pointing to it. /Jarofsky. Go check it out. Also, become a Ben head. chicagoreader.com/Jarofsky to find out how you can help this program keep delivering this program to you. chicagoreader.com, so much more. Check out this weekend's Benny J bonus interviews, chicagoreader.com, wherever else you download podcasts. Okay, we're done.
I want to thank Rummana Hussain for the excellent job she did. And of course, the man, myth, the legend, the pride and joy of Alton, Illinois, without whom the show is possible. The man that Nate Archibald, Dave Collins, Dominique Wilkins, and Michael Jeffrey Jordan all fondly call White Lightning. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Hey, I need $5 more. Thank you.
Yay! Yeah.
From the Illinois State Water Survey at the University of Illinois Prairie Research Institute, this is Illinois State climatologist Trent Ford.
Yay for our teacher! Yay for our teachers!